Hi, I'm from a company. Today we're going to be talking about horror clowns. In order to understand why people are so afraid of clowns, we have to go back to the beginning. Where did they come from? Clowns have been around for centuries, but their origins can be traced back to 16th century Italy with the commedia dell'arte. This was a style of theater that featured masked characters who wore costumes with large floppy shoes. They would perform improvised scenes with slapstick comedy and acrobatic feats. The characters in these performances were often characterized by their exaggerated movements and funny faces. The tradition continued into the 1800s, when Joseph Grimaldi became one of the most famous clowns of all time. He helped popularize the white-face clown look that we associate with clowns today. But it wasn't until the 20th century that clowns really took off. In 1930, a man named Poodles was hired to entertain guests at a birthday party. He was dressed in a bright costume and had a painted white face with red lipstick. The kids loved him. Word got around, and soon he was getting calls from other parties. And this is where things started to take a darker turn. See, Poodles wasn't just some guy who decided to dress up as a clown and make balloon animals. He was part of a secret organization known as the Order of the Skull. This group used the guise of a children's birthday party entertainment business to lure their victims. Once they were inside the house, they would tie up the parents and then take the children out one by one into the backyard, where they would sacrifice them. Poodles himself enjoyed torturing his victims before killing them, making sure to give each child a smile they'd never forget. Over the years, the Order of the Skull grew and spread across the country, preying on innocent families and turning their happiest moments into their darkest nightmares. But eventually they were caught, and the nightmare came to an end. Or did it? Well, that's where things get a little murky, because there's no record of any arrests or convictions in connection with these crimes. Some say the case was covered up by the government because the mastermind behind it all was a high-ranking member of the Illuminati. Others believe the whole thing was just a sick prank gone wrong. The truth is, we may never know what really happened that day in the backyard. So what does this story teach us about our fear of clowns? For many people, it's enough to know that clowns were created as entertainment for the masses. They were designed to make us laugh and put a smile on our faces. When someone takes that smile and twists it into something grotesque, it becomes terrifying. That's why we're so afraid of clowns. They're supposed to be happy and funny, but when they turn dark, it's like a punch in the gut. Clowns have always existed, but our fascination with them didn't start until the late 19th century, when people began to feel alienated by modern life. Clowns offered an escape from reality, a chance to laugh and have fun without worrying about anything else. But when you think about it, that's kind of creepy. Why would we want to escape reality so badly? Perhaps it's because our modern world has become too much for us to handle. We live in a time of constant change and uncertainty, which can be overwhelming and stressful. Clowns offer us a brief respite from all of that, a chance to step outside of ourselves and just be entertained. However, as the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. And in the case of clowns, that seems to be happening sooner rather than later. People are starting to see through the facade to realize that clowns aren't just funny games. They're actually quite sinister. Throughout history, there have been many figures who have embodied the dark side of clowning. One of the most famous is John Wayne Gacy. In the 70s and 80s, he was known as the Killer Clown, or the Clown Prince of Crime. He would dress up as a clown and perform at children's hospitals and charity events, all while hiding his true identity. But eventually, he was caught and sentenced to death. His crimes shocked the nation and turned clowns into a symbol of evil. But it wasn't just Gacy. There have been other cases of clowns committing heinous acts, like the recent story of a man who dressed up as a clown to abduct women. These stories are terrifying, and they make us question everything we thought we knew about clowns. How can someone who looks so funny and innocent be capable of such darkness? It's a question that has no easy answer, but it's one that we need to ask if we're ever going to understand our fear of clowns. We all love to laugh and be entertained. But when the laughter turns into screams and the entertainment becomes a nightmare, then we've crossed a line. Clowns are supposed to make us laugh, but when they make us afraid, then they've become something else entirely, something dark, twisted, and evil. So the next time you see a clown, remember the words of author Stephen King. Clowns are people too, but only barely. Clowns are like children. They have a certain innocence about them, a certain naivety. They don't understand the world around them. They just do what they're told. But when that naivety is exploited, when that innocence is taken away, then clowns become monsters. We live in a world where everything is fake. People, relationships, even emotions. When you think about it, that's what clowns represent. They're fake, they're artificial, they're not real. And in a world where everything is fake, it can be hard to know what to believe in. What do we really know? What is real and what isn't? We're constantly bombarded with images and messages that tell us how to think, how to act, how to feel. But what if we're not buying it anymore? What if we're starting to see through the lies? Clowns are the ultimate symbol of this. They're the epitome of everything that is fake and artificial in our society. And the more we learn about them, the more we realize that they're not just funny games. They're a reflection of the darkness that lies beneath the surface of our world. Think about it. Clowns have always been associated with death. In the Victorian era, they would perform at funerals, making balloon animals and juggling skulls. It was a way to cope with grief, to find humor in the darkest of times. But there's something strange about this, something that we don't often think about. Why were clowns performing at funerals? Is it to cheer up the mourners? Or was it to remind them that death is inevitable? As we learn more about clowns, we realize that they're not just entertainers. They're storytellers. They're keepers of secrets. And the secrets they hold are both fascinating and terrifying. Clowns have seen the best and worst of humanity. They've been at our side during our greatest moments of joy and our darkest hours of sorrow. And in doing so, they've become vessels of our collective consciousness, repositories of our deepest fears and darkest desires. What are those fears and desires? Well, that's up to you to decide. But as you look into the eyes of a clown, you might just see a glimpse of what lurks within us all. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and join us next time for more scary clown videos.